Hi, everybody. It's Craig from Doc Sports, and we're back with Doc Sports Daily, and it's the Super Bowl edition. And to celebrate, we brought all four amigos. No three amigos today. We brought all four amigos. So we've been pretty hot the last week and a half since we started the Docs Daily. We're going to try to get a lot in this show. So we're going to have both free plays in all of the daily sports like we always do. But instead of doing breakdowns like we usually do in each game, we're just going to give out the picks today. So that way we have hopefully a full 20 minutes to cover all kinds of Super Bowl information that you're going to want to know to hopefully cash some winners come Super Bowl on Sunday. All right, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Don't forget, Docs Daily at 1 o'clock each day, Monday through Friday, and get onto that free $60 account. So, yeah, you can try us out for the Super Bowl if you've never had an account before. DocSports.com/free60. It's it's only $25 to get the single plays from any of our, if you just want the plays for the sides or totals. If you want the props, Robert, are they $25 as well, or are they $30?
They're $30 still for a daily.
$30. So basically, you could get either one of any of us. You get the.
But you're getting. I will say you're getting a lot more value. Normally, when guys release their daily prop plays, you're getting one, maybe two picks. Yeah. A lot of guys have 4, 6, 8 Super Bowl props. So the $30 is nominal compared to what you're getting.
And if you use that Doc Sports 60, you could get both. You could get the $25 side or total that they like, and then follow it up with the 30 and still have $5 left over to use in the future. So DocSports.com/free60 get you in on that. And then don't forget, like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss on all of our videos. All right, let's make this quick, guys. Nick, why don't you kick us off in the NBA? Trade deadline, huge news yesterday. Jimmy Butler goes to the Warriors. Kevin Durant did not want to go to the Warriors. I think we got some issues here with trade deadline. You have anything you can take advantage of today?
Yeah, let's go with the Sacramento Kings and the Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazers winners of 5 straight. We're going with the Portland Trailblazers on the money line over the Sacramento Kings tonight, Craig.
All right, Griffin, are you gonna? We've all been riding the Portland Trailblazers bandwagon. Are you jumping on that one as well?
Dude, Craig, I'm on the Portland Trailblazers as well. You got Sacramento playing back-to-back here, and now they're going on the road for this one. Portland's won 5 straight matchups. Give me the Blazers here on the money line at a -115 line, Craig.
All right, so if you didn't follow along, if you haven't been following, the line came out at +1.5, was immediately to 1. Now it's -1. It's flipped the other way. I think it's obviously your team that's absolutely not just covering, which that's amazing. They're winning outright as underdogs. Now can they win as a favorite? So we'll see. All right, Robert, what do you have for tonight in NBA?
Okay, first, before I get to my free play, I just checked on DocSports.com, and actually we did lower the price. It's $25 for daily props this weekend. So take advantage of that lower price. And for my free play tonight, I'm going with the Sacramento Kings. No, just kidding. I'm going in college basketball. I'm taking San Francisco plus a points against St. Mary. Pretty much just a pure letdown spot after St. Mary's beat Gonzaga last week. Got a little reverse line movement. San Francisco, I think they're going to be a live home underdog.
All right. I also think there's a live underdog tonight. I like Maryland at Ohio State. Earlier this year, they killed them at home. I think a lot of people think Ohio State's playing better. I think Ohio State could win and not cover here as well. So I like Maryland plus the points. I'm going to sprinkle a little on the money line. I think they're a live underdog tonight in the college hoops. And also as an NBA free pick, small play, I kind of think the Clippers roll here tonight. I just think, the Clippers are a team that doesn't sound like going to make any moves at trade deadline. Well, I guess we'll know here in just a few hours or a few minutes. But I don't expect them to make a whole lot, and I think they're starting to get healthy. I think they're going to take care of business. I like them to beat up on the Pacers tonight, so a small free play. Anything in the NHL that you like, Nick? I know you're kind of our NHL guru.
Yeah, we're going to go with a dog price here with the Minnesota Wild. They were just coming off a 5-game road trip here, coming back home on a 2-game losing streak. Carolina Hurricanes as well are on a 2-game losing streak, but all the values on the Minnesota Wild here. Money line at home at a +145 line, Craig.
Oh, you know my sweet spot in the NHL, that +140, the +175. That's where I'm always looking for my underdogs. And that one definitely piqued my interest. I was actually going to ask you, so I'm glad you covered that one. Anything from you in the NHL, Griff?
Yeah, actually, I do have one, Craig. So I'm looking at Washington over Philadelphia in this matchup. It's a juicy line at -155, but Washington, they play stout hockey on the road with a record of 18-7-2. Meanwhile, Philly, they're just playing 500 hockey with a record of 12-12-1 at home. I just don't see how they're going to light up the lamp against this defense who's holding teams to under 2.5 goals a game. Give me the Washington Capitals here on the money line at a -155, Craig. That's my free play on the ice.
All right. Robert, can you give us a gem in the NHL?
I don't know if I'd call it a gem, but I'm going back against St. Louis just on general principle. I missed on a big play with them. I took Edmonton in regulation against St. Louis earlier this week. Of course, Edmonton won, but not in regulation, so I lose that bet. So I'm going to do the same thing, go with a three-way line with Florida. They're getting a little plus money value at +105 if they win in regulation, so I'll take it there. And, I was smirking before when you said something about the Clippers because they screwed me the other night too as an absolute no-show against the goddamn Lakers. So I support your free play there. Again, also on general principle. I notice when I lose a big play pretty badly like that, always come back on the team in their next game.
How about Nick, talk me off New Jersey tonight. Vegas has been absolute a dumpster fire. I keep saying they're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around. I keep giving them another chance. They're just not. I like New Jersey. Small, I think it's -115, -110. I just think Vegas, you have to start betting against them. They're just overvalued. Do you think I'm crazy in this one?
I'll play devil's advocate here, Craig. I will be on Vegas tonight. Their losers are 4 straight. They got to turn something around. They're inconsistent on the road. I think they get it done against the New Jersey Devils, who haven't been playing good whatsoever as well at home.
Yeah, if you'd have told me early in the year Vegas would be this price at this point of the year, I'd have been like, who the hell? Like, how? Everybody on the team has COVID and's out or something, because I never thought we'd see that. But when you lose 4 in a row, I mean, like the odds makers start to catch on. So I think that's going to be an interesting game. We're going to see if Vegas can start turning things around. If not, Fadesville, as they say. All right, let's move to what everybody wants to talk about. We got the Super Bowl this weekend. I mean, Chiefs and the Patriots. People, I don't know. We can't even make that happen. Chiefs and the Eagles, a rematch of what, 2 years ago? Was it 3 years ago now?
2 years ago. Yep.
2 years. Yeah. It just seems like yesterday that they played, and what an amazing game it was last time. Once again, we see the Eagles getting a fair amount of money, but the line's only moved to half a point. Chiefs favored by 1 at most spots. Some still have it at 1.5. This total is kind of all over the spot as well. I see some 49s out there. We're going to individually break down some different parts of the game, and then we'll give you some player props the second half. So Nick, why don't you start us out? Give us the kind of the history of the Super Bowl. People don't realize, if you kind of follow the trends of these big games, there's some hidden gems there. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, let's do a little history lesson here. Dating back 20 years over the Super Bowl since 2005 here. The favorites have won 13 out of the last 20 Super Bowls outright. That is 65%. The underdogs in the last 20 years have only won 7 times. But it shows that the favorites do have a favored hand here in winning the game outright. The underdogs, though, still have managed to win outright almost 1/3 of the past 20 years of the Super Bowl here. Now, the favorites covering the spread in the Super Bowl. The favorites have covered the spread only 8 times in the last 20 years, which is only 40% here. Obviously, 12 times they have failed to cover the spread. In this Super Bowl, it won't play that big of a factor. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are -1 here. The favorites, like I said, they have a good chance of winning the game outright at a 65% chance over the last 20 years here, Craig. And also, let me talk about the over-under in the past 20 years. The over is hit 9 times only in the past 20 years, which is a 45% clip. 11 times the under has hit in the last 20 years, which is 55%. But over a short span of time, in the last 8 Super Bowls, the over has hit 5 times since 2015 here. So we're seeing a little bit of an increase, especially on the offensive side. Players like Joe Burrow, you got Patrick Mahomes here who move the ball and score touchdowns. We're seeing the over as of late being hit a little more often than the under.
And last time was 38-35, these two, right? That was the the final score. So it was over, I think, going into the third quarter, if I remember, going into the fourth quarter. So we saw a really high score. I kind of thought that would draw a lot of the over bettors, like initially, but the total hasn't really moved. We see it anywhere from 48.5 to 49.5, depending on what book you're looking at. So I'm a little shocked that the total hasn't moved, especially with the recent numbers in the Super Bowl. All right. Let's do Nick. Why don't you cover? You're covering the Chiefs, right? Why don't you cover the Chiefs? Trying to get us all the must-know stuff that we need to know about the. Are you?
You mean Griff?
Griffin? Sorry, Griff.
Let's
sorry.
roll the dice, baby. Let's sazzle and dazzle. All right, so I'm going to give you guys like an overall rundown of the Chiefs this season. They went a stout 15-2 on the year. Their 2 losses came to Buffalo in a 30-21 final. Chiefs got that one back in the AFC Championship game. Then they had a laydown loss to Denver where they rested all their starters. So that loss to me really didn't matter much. The Chiefs were nearly perfect all season long, although they always seem to keep games tight. They went 9-10 against the spread this season, which is not critical in this matchup as we have technically a pick 'em matchup with the line sitting at -1 Kansas City. Kansas City, they do in fact thrive here. They're 8-5 against the spread in non-divisional matchups, 6-4 against the spread when playing teams with equal rest. Philadelphia, though, when it comes to a metric standpoint, they lead both offensively and defensively. Kansas City, they finished 17th in the NFL across offensive yards per game and 8th across total yards against on the defensive side. Philadelphia, on the other hand, they were 5th in the NFL across total yards of offense per game and 1st on the defensive side when it came to total yards against. When it comes to totals, the Chiefs were just 7-10 against the spread this season when covering totals. But, ladies and gentlemen, something to note. Patrick Mahomes, 17-3 in his career during postseason play. He's passed for over 5,500 yards, 43 touchdowns, and just 8 picks in 20 postseason appearances. Then, on the other hand, you've got Andy Reid. He leads this team. 27 postseason wins in his career. That puts him in 2nd place in history in postseason victories, trailing Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots, who finished with 31 career postseason victories. This is going to be a phenomenal game across the boards, Craig, but the Chiefs have won back-to-back Super Bowls. This would be the three-peat. This would be the first time in history a team has won 3 consecutive Super Bowls. The pressure's on the Chiefs in this one, so we're going to have a very exciting matchup come this Sunday, Craig.
Yeah, that's some key numbers here. I think most people obviously followed, these are 2 of the best teams all year long, but you followed the Chiefs because of the three-peat. They're going for the three-peat. A lot of people for the Taylor Swift thing. I mean, it's been like a run they've had this past few years where, they've had a lot of pressure, added pressure even, and they've felt, they've really never felt to that. So I don't expect that the pressure will get to them here. Although I do think they have their work cut out for them on this is the best team they faced, I think, in the 3-year run they've had. Yeah. So we're going to see a good one. Eagles breakdown. Robert, why don't you break down the Eagles? Some even more interesting numbers when I was drawing through the Eagles numbers.
Well, it's funny. They've been quietly dominant this year, just like they were 2 years ago before they ran into Kansas City. Really outplayed the Chiefs in that Super Bowl. If you think about it, a couple critical turnovers really turned to that game. But Philadelphia went 14-3 straight up in the regular season, 11-6 against the spread, which is impressive because they are kind of a public team. Throw in the playoffs, they are 17-3 straight up, 13-7 against the spread. So they've covered 2 out of every 3 games that they've played this year. They are riding a 5-game winning streak, so they have a lot of momentum coming into the Super Bowl. And they are 15-1 straight up, 11-5 against the spread in their last 16 games. Winning 15 out of 16 in the NFL is absolutely no joke. The only game they lost was that game at Washington, and it took Jalen Hurts getting hurt and knocked out of the game and a last-second touchdown from Jaden Daniels to win that game. So they're almost riding a 16-game winning streak into this one. Now, last year with Philadelphia, they had that collapse, okay? They make the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They start 10-1 last season, and then they just melted down for whatever reason in the last 2 months of the season. They lost 6 out of their last 7. They were 0-7 against the spread, including that embarrassing playoff loss at Tampa Bay. But if we kick out that weird kind of 2-month span for them, then over the last 3 years, since the start of 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles are 41-7 straight up and 30-18 against the spread. That's a 63% winning percentage against the number. And that 41-7 straight up, that's epic stuff right there. That's like all-time great team stuff. They just don't have that Super Bowl to justify it or to calcify their place in history, and that's what they're going to be looking for. Last thing is that it's funny because this past Sunday was Groundhog's Day, right? It almost feels like we're stuck in a Groundhog Day now. For the second straight year, we basically are going into a Super Bowl with the exact same motivational storyline. Last year, it was San Francisco trying to get revenge for that Super Bowl loss a few years before, right? Small favorite Kansas City, and they still find a way. Kansas City, small favorite again. Philadelphia trying to avenge that recent Super Bowl loss. We'll see if it plays out the exact same way as it did last year for the 49ers.
Yeah, I think this is the most interesting Super Bowl maybe in my lifetime because you can make such strong arguments. Like you said, these are generational type numbers we've seen from these teams the last 2 or 3 years. And usually in the NFL, you can't sustain it. Obviously, the Patriots did, but it's very hard for two teams to sustain success. Obviously, this team's a little different. The Eagles, they've got Saquon, and that's the big, I think, like how much of a difference does Saquon Barkley make? Obviously, he could have been the MVP this year, so it's kind of, I guess, a question you kind of answers itself. But is it enough to get him over the top? And that is the great argument, I think, this year. Now, let's look at, I'm going to break down the head-to-head matchups. Obviously, they played in the Super Bowl, 38-35. Chiefs won and covered. Remember, actually Eagles went off game time as a 1-point favorite in that one. But they also played in 2023. The Eagles got their revenge, won 21-17, and covered the spread. But they've only faced each other 6 times since 2009. The Eagles have only won twice. They won in 2009. They won again last year in 2023. Those are the only 2 times they covered as well. And a little hidden gem, how about the overs hit 4 of those 6 games as well? So the Chiefs have kind of owned them, but they just haven't played each other that much. And usually good teams in the NFL, the NFL just seems to match them up in the regular season. So it's kind of surprising we haven't seen these teams much. But exciting matchup. Now, what's everybody here for? How about we're going to cover, each one of us will go around and we'll do a team prop, and then we'll finish it up and we'll each do a player prop. I think maybe more than ever before, like I wish we had Raphael on, like probably more action is happening on props than ever before in the Super Bowl. It's always been a big thing, but with the legalization and the online edition the last 10 years, it has really made props even more. So we've got some hidden value. Nick, why don't you kick us off with your team prop, and then we'll go around each one, give that, and then go back around for the player prop.
I actually have a game prop in this one, and it's going to be the first score to be a field goal here at odds of plus 155. Usually in the first quarter of the Super Bowl, often teams take a while to adjust. What type of schemes are they running? So they start off a little slower here. Historically, the first score of the Super Bowl has often been a field goal. Teams tend to feel each other out, like I said, in the opening drives before committing high-risk plays. In 2023, the Chiefs, they kicked a field goal for the first points in that Super Bowl. And in 2022, the Los Angeles Rams kicked a field goal there. So I like the odds on the first score to be a field goal at odds of plus 155 here. Craig,
I think we get a little extra value on this year because both teams have went for it so many times in 4th and short across the league, but especially Philly. I mean, Philly, you get 4th and 1.5 or less, they're going for it. So I think that's why we're probably getting this. Probably be closer in past years to plus 110, plus 115. But this year we get the extra because people are worried that, the Eagles just continue to go for it all the way down the field. Griffin, why don't you give us a hidden gem here for the team prop?
Absolutely, Craig. Yeah, so what I'm looking at is team possession. And right now, the Chiefs, they're plus 140 to possess the ball longer than Philly in this game. And obviously, everybody's going to look at this matchup and automatically assume that this is going to be a smackdown football game for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. When you've got Saquon Barkley in the backfield, all you want to do is run the ball up the gut. And what do you think Andy Reid's mind is going to adjust to in this game? Well, we want to keep the ball out of Barkley's hands, and we need to possess the ball as much as we can. The Kansas City Chiefs, they thrive on the offensive side with Kelsey, Hopkins, Juju, Hollywood Brown. You can go down the list. Worthy. This offense is so fast offensively. On top of that, they have Kareem Hunt. I think the scheme of this game is going to be for this Kansas City Chiefs to sustain the ball offensively and keep the ball out of this Philadelphia Eagles offense hands to obviously control the tempo of this game so they can, in fact, slow down Jalen Hurts and keep the ball away from Barkley, as mentioned, and A.J. Brown, who is always a deadly threat on that deep ball. So with that being said, I think this is a psychological trap because the public is going to be all over Philly to sustain possession because they know the best player in football. You've got the MVP, Saquon Barkley, who's just been absolutely outstanding all season long, best running back in football. What's the game plan here? Psychological trap. Flip it on them. Give me the plus 140 with the Chiefs to possess the ball longer than the Philadelphia Eagles in this matchup with a better head coach with Andy Reid on this one, Craig.
Great value there. And remember, the Bills couldn't get their 4th and 1 on the quarterback sneaks. Now, can they stop, obviously, the best tush push we've ever seen, quarterback sneaks in the Eagles? If they can do what they did last week, it is going to completely change the game because you stop it a couple times, guess what? You're not going to be as willing to go for it. So I think that's going to be the game within the game. On these short yardage plays, can they do what they did last week? Because the Bills had zero success doing it. All right, I like that plus money there. Robert, you have anything as juicy as plus 140?
I don't know. That was pretty good, Griffin. I got to say,
Yeah.
I like where your head's at with that one also. And to back up your point, it feels like Kansas City has been like kind of building for this game, right? The number that blew my mind after the Buffalo win was that was the first time in 28 games that Kansas City had scored over 30 points in a game. Almost 2 years it took them to score over 30 points. It's almost like they've transformed in front of our eyes from being this explosive down the field type of team to a much more methodical, efficient, convert third downs, stay on the field type of team. So when you add the plus money, I definitely think that that's a great value there, Griffin. I'm going to build on, I'm going to the kickers, going back to the kickers like my boy Nick is over there. I'm taking the longest field goal under 47.5 yards in this game, okay? Both kickers are more than capable. It was just last year that Harrison Butker nailed a 57-yarder Super Bowl record, no problem. These are two excellent kickers. They're kicking indoors. I understand all the reasons why. However, 48-yard field goals plus are a little more rare than people think that they are. We're nudging up against 50 yards there. Harrison Butker, he's only 2 for 5 from 50-plus yards this year, and he has only had a 48 or longer field goal in 2 of his 15 games this year. Going back over Butker's career, he's had some monster kicks, some big kicks, some long kicks, some clutch kicks, but in 17 career postseason games, he's only hit a 48-yarder or longer in 6 of 17 games, okay? He hasn't looked right since he's come back from that injury that he had, that knee injury that he had earlier in the season. So I just don't know if they're going to push him. Jake Elliott, he's 1 for 8 from 50-plus this year. His long for the season is 50 yards. Let me see. Last year, only 6 games did he hit one of 48-plus. In 2022, only 4 times in 20 games. And in 2021, only 3 times in 18 games. Only once in Jake Elliott's 14 career playoff games has he hit a field goal of 48 yards or longer. As we have kind of touched on, both of these teams, the analytics drive for it. The coaches kind of drive for it. More, let's go for it. So instead of going out there, trying your field goal kicker out there for a 52-yarder or a 51-yarder in this game, I can see both teams trusting their offense, leaving their offense on the field, not wanting to risk missing a long field goal and giving the opponent a short field. So I just don't think we're going to see many long field goals in this game. So take the longest field goal under 47.5 yards.
Yeah, I think the Eagles, I mean, they seems like they never kick field goals. It's like they really have to have no other option where it's, 4th and 10 and okay, we won't go for it. They're just a go for it type team. And when you run the ball, they're in more 4th and shorts than probably any team in the league.
Over the last 4 years, in Jake Elliott's last 78 games, he's only had a 48-yard field goal or longer 16 times in crazy. 78 games. So you're right. They don't kick a lot of long field goals.
Dallas went probably 16 this year. I mean, it's just like, but their offense is just built different. They, especially this year, I mean, they went from like, hey, we're going to throw they basically said, hey, we're going to ride Saquon. And it's obviously turned into a success. I think with 2 weeks to prepare, we'll see. Do they overthink it and try to run the ball or pass the ball more? Some play action passing. I'm really excited to see. Will the Eagles coaching staff just stick with the game plan, what's got them there? Because it's been – everybody's know it's been coming and it hasn't been able to stop. All right, I have also a kicker prop. I like over 3.5 punts for the Kansas City Chiefs. We see it anywhere, depending – you got to shop this around, anywhere from -115 to -120. I just think early in the Super Bowl, you're going to see more punts than we probably would think with these really efficient offenses. Just have a little bit of nerves. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs, they are okay for probably the first time, really this year and last year, with saying, hey, we can win with our defense. And they've done it all year long. They're okay with just pinning teams back. And like you said, I don't think they're going for 52, 53 yards because they're so confident in their defense that they're going to end up with the ball back at midfield. They'll get a 3 and out and get it back. So I like the over 3.5 punts for the Kansas City Chiefs more so than I like the over punts for the Eagles, even though I think they might go over as well, because I think there's overreaction with them not punting like basically at all in the playoffs so far because they've been so efficient on offense. But I think the Eagles are more likely to go for it than the Chiefs. So I like the over punts as the team prop. I think there's a little value there. All right. Now, what probably everybody likes to bet, and Robert, you probably can speak to this. So we'll go back the other way. You can start, but like everybody bets over on everything in player props as far as player props. And I think that means there's usually value. Usually there's the plus side is always on the under plays. So you got to be careful, guys, going out there and just saying, hey, I'm going to put a 5-team parlay together with 4 plus, over props. Robert, what do you like as a player prop in this Super Bowl?
Okay, remember, public service announcement, don't parlay. That's my first little free tip for you right there. If somebody says, let's do a 5-team parlay, say, no, that's stupid. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. But to your point, yes, remember, it's a psychological thing. For the last 40 years, we've seen this, and it's why we've seen the Super Bowl numbers shift and the odds makers shift how they approach the Super Bowl numbers. People bet what they want to see happen rather than what they think is going to happen. Okay, that's why people bet the favorite, they bet the over. I feel like that's why a lot of people are jumping on the Philadelphia bandwagon right now. That's why they're taking the overwhelming majority of this action. Me personally, I think it's insane that you would bet against Kansas City at this stage. We've just seen it so many times. We've seen them have success at this level every time. But people don't want Kansas City to win. So they're betting on Philadelphia as a form of like manifesting that to happen. So yes, that's why people bet more on the over when it comes to these player props, because they overestimate like just how good these players are. When you look back, the history of the Super Bowl of quarterbacks throwing for over 300 yards, for example, or running backs running for over 100 yards, receivers, same thing. It's not as extensive as you think. The odds makers know that the public wants to bet the over on these player props, so there is value on the under. Now, with that being said, my free play is going to completely obliterate everything that I just said. I'm taking Jalen Hurts' longest rush over 13.5 yards. Okay. Now, this isn't on his overall performance running the ball. This is just on that longest run being 13.5 yards or more. Now, over Jalen Hurts' last 54 games, he's done this about half of the time, okay? About 27 out of 54 games. So no real value there, but he's already done it twice in the postseason. He broke off a 15-yarder. He broke off a 44-yarder. And the reason why I like Hurts in this game is that I feel like Philadelphia, they know that Kansas City's defense is going to be keying on Saquon Barkley in the running game. That's going to set up some RPO stuff. That's going to set up some bootleg action stuff. And with Hurts, it's really now or never. I feel like they've had to limit his rushing attempts over the last year, 2 years, because you don't want to get him hurt, right? Like he's your long-term answer at quarterback. That's not an issue now. It's the Super Bowl. This is history. This is legacy. It's all hands on deck. If Jalen Hurts has to run the ball 16 times in this game, he's going to run the ball 16 times in this game. And I think he can break one. If you look back at what running quarterbacks did against Kansas City this year, that's basically just Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Bo Nix. They all had rushes for longer than this. And the last time that Hurts played Kansas City in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he rushed for 70 yards on 15 carries, and his long was 28. I can see something similar happening in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think he is going to be way more attempts than he's had. I just think, and I actually think Mahomes will as well. And we saw it last week. Mahomes.
Yeah, there's no reason to save it. There's nothing to save it for. If you're the quarterback, if you're any of these players, you got to max out in this game. You can't worry about sliding. You can't worry about limiting their touches. Like this is the legacy of all of these humans involved. So you got to imagine everybody's going to go all out.
I like that one. Griffin, what do you like as a player prop?
Absolutely, Craig. Yo, rolling into this one, man, I'm looking at Xavier Worthy. I mean, this is going to be the most elusive, fastest guy on the field, hands down. And we've seen what he did to Buffalo in the most recent matchup. And we've seen what this kid did all season long. I mean, what a career this kid had coming out of Texas. I mean, he's currently right now the fastest guy in the NFL. On top of that, he is the fastest guy to ever run in the NFL Combine. I want to say he ran like a 4.12 40-yard dash, which is absolutely incredible. And you look at this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, we're so aware of what this guy's capable of doing. And you look at all the X factors on the field with them. I mean, as I've mentioned, you've got Kelsey. That's one of the best tight ends in all of the NFL, if not the best, argument. Hopkins, that is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, argument. And then you've got a couple sleepers like Juju and Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown finally making his mark in his most recent matchup. Xavier Worthy, that is your sleeper guy. That is the fastest guy on the field who you will look for downfield when you got guys like Hopkins and Kelsey doubled up. So I am looking at Xavier Worthy anytime touchdown scorer at plus 155. I think he's going to be critical in this matchup. And I know Buffalo is absolutely kicking themselves in the head right now and in the foot for not drafting this kid, because he has been outstanding throughout his entire career with Texas. Now, rolling into the Super Bowl on his rookie year, you know that they're going to want to give this kid the ball in the end zone. So give me Xavier Worthy here, anytime touchdown scorer, Craig, at a plus 155 line.
Yeah, we see Super Bowl, you see some trick plays. You have this extra time to prepare. This is a guy that might be the beneficiary of a trick play. Flea flicker, double reverse pass. I mean, just weird stuff happens in the Super Bowl, especially with Andy Reid and the Chiefs. They love to do this stuff. And, like you said, you can make a 1-yard pass with him, a screenplay, and he can go for a touchdown. That's always guys I like to play in touchdown props because, it's one thing to get a 50-yard pass. That just doesn't happen that much in Super Bowl. But it's another thing where you break a couple plays, and he's a guy that definitely can do it. Nick, why don't you tell us a player prop? Tell me you got something as juicy as Griffin's plus 140 team prop.
It's not as juicy, but it has a little bit to do with Robert's play. So we'll have another confluence on Jalen Hurts, his over 38.5 rushing yards. This should have been a premium play. He's a dual threat quarterback, and he takes advantage of the defense's mistakes. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to bring blitzes, and he could use his legs to get out early in this game. The Eagles' offensive scheme, it's especially with Barkley in the backfield, it's going to be run pass option here, which is going to allow this defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Number one focus is to be on Barkley. It's going to open up some holes for Jalen Hurts to tuck and run that ball down the field. And here's the kicker. In Jalen Hurts' playoff career, he is averaging 44 yards per game in his playoff career. I absolutely love Jalen Hurts over 38.5 rushing yards in this one, Craig.
Well, I'm on an Eagles team player prop as well. I like Dallas Goedert over his receiving total. I think it's like 50 and a half, depending on where you're looking at. This is a team that I think has realized if we don't turn the ball over, we're going to win most games. Once they went to I think it was Robert talked about the history this year. It was, I believe, when they went to the bye week. Since then, that's when this run has happened. I think they realized over the bye week, listen, we have the best running back in football, arguably, I guess. But, I mean, his numbers say that. And you have a quarterback, if he doesn't turn the ball over, can win with his legs as well. Let's just don't throw the ball outside, because that's when it seems like he throws interceptions. When he throws, it's okay if he goes deep. But when he throws into coverage, he's just not the greatest accurate quarterback. When he throws over the middle, it's almost always single coverage. Dallas Goedert is an above-average receiver. He's got, I think it was 8 targets last game. I don't think we'll get 8 targets this game, but I think we'll get 5 or 6. And, they always seem to average about 10 yards a catch. I like Dallas Goedert over again this week. I think, let's see, his total receiving yards, 85 last week, 56 and 47 and 55. Those are the last 4 games. I think this week, it's not 80. I don't think they'll score as much as they did against Washington. But I do think to beat Kansas City, you got to possess the ball. I think they'll be more than happy with just taking dink and dunks over the middle of their tight ends when they need to get, medium, 3rd and 5 type plays. I think there'll be a lot of opportunities over the middle. So that's what I like for the player prop. So there you have it. That's 8 props for you. 4 team props, 4 player props. And we broke down all you need to know about as far as the history of the Super Bowl on each team. And, but where can you get our best plays? People might be asking. Well, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, go over and get the free 60. If you're a new customer, DocSports.com/free 60. For $25 of that free 60, you can get any one of us or any expert we have over at Doc Sports their play on the Super Bowl. Some people will have both the side and the total, some just side or total. You can check that out. And $25, right, Robert? You said that's a discount for the props. for this. And most guys, I would say, Robert, you probably can speak more to this, are going to have 3 or more props for the Super Bowl. So you're getting, a really big value there.
A lot of value. Yep. I think I released 8. Nick, how you mentioned that Jalen Hurts rushing prop should be a premium lay. It is for this guy. I think I have 8. Some guys have 4. Some guys have 6. A lot of high value prop plays. So yeah, you really should take advantage of that. And to your point, how you asked before, it's not a majority of the action that the books take on props now. It's somewhere around 45 to 52%, depending on the book. So it's slightly 50-50, where 20 years ago, it was about 90 to 10 props versus side and total. So we are shifting that way, and that's where the value is.
Yeah, you can. But to be honest here, and we'll have a lot, and when you buy the picks, you'll see them. We rank them by unit. And that unit tells you how strong and how you should bet the game. So I always say, buyer beware as far as or just an FYI to bet the Super Bowl. If you really have a strong opinion on a game, make sure if you hit that and you miss all your other, either prop plays or whatever, that you still win. So there's a bigger picture as far as when I release my plays on, hey, if I hit this, I'm probably still going to have a profit for the Super Bowl. So, and that's what we take. It's part of what you get when you buy the expert picks. And hey, if you're new, don't forget, you can still, you can't get the free 60, but you still get that $25 deal. So make sure you go over it. The BPAs, are they updated for the football so they'll know, Robert?
The majority of them are within the next hour. All the top props will be posted and all the top side and total plays. I know that we still have some guys that are releasing some 7-unit plays. There are some handicappers. I am not one of them, but there are some handicappers that have some very strong feelings on this game. There's going to be some 7-unit plays on the side and a 6-unit play that I saw on a total in this game. So some guys are revved up.
And that's above the grid, right? They'll be able to see that above the grid, like who's
right
what.
when
So
you log in.
in,
Yep, right there, right on that main page there.
And that's both for if you do the free 60 or if you're just a existing customer coming back, you'll see that. So make sure you pay attention to that. It's always best. Obviously, we all have strong opinions. We like our bets, but there's some that like it more than others, like you said, and that unit size is what tells you that. So thanks, everybody, for joining in. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern Standard Time. Griffin's got some car work that need to be done, so it's going to be me, Robert, and Nick tomorrow, and we're going to talk more NBA, college basketball, and the NHL, and a huge weekend ahead of the Super Bowl. So thanks again, everybody. I know we had tons of people watching, both, I'm sure, now and then after. Good luck on your Super Bowl, and we'll see you again.